Now, the second phase of this conversation is about the outcome of this election. And Mr. Dankwah, prior to yesterday, the NPP as a political party took the decision to boycott the elections. Just 24 hours before the elections, the candidate, Naneke Free, after she lost that attempt, or she failed at the attempt to injunct the election yesterday, decided that, look, I'll defy the party's orders and I will contest this election. Went around campaigning door-to-door, submarine, and others, as she indicated. How did that decision strike you? I mean, going to this election yesterday, just a quick one.
No, I was surprised that the decision was taken and then the candidate defied that decision. It shows a party that probably is in a weak position than we've known them to be, because a national party or national executive should not take decision and then a candidate not following. What that did is to tell us that there is a bit of division still in MPP, and then the top is not necessarily the voice of the bottom. But it didn't help them in the situation. It showed lack of unity, lack of direction, and also probably dampened some enthusiasm that we would have otherwise witnessed in the constituency for the election. It clearly shows that all is not well in MPP right now.
And how did that inconsistent position of the party taking one position and then the candidate now going contrary to that, because per her own assessment, she says she's still strong on the ground, and that showed yesterday. How did that position by the party impact on her performance yesterday?
First, I think it would have affected overall turnout in the constituency, not just among MPP, but across every voter who was eligible to vote. Because some will say, oh, if they're not contesting, then it means there's no contest. I don't have to bother myself to go and vote. But if the contest was very keen and everybody was partaking, and then we would have seen a much slightly higher turnout, even though it would still been lower, but a bit more than we saw yesterday. For MPP, maybe slightly lower turnout than among the NDC, because already there is hesitant on the part of MPP voters to go out and vote. And if they don't see that sense of unity and sense of purpose in the constituency, it tends to dampen further that kind of enthusiasm. So it really affected them somehow. But overall, I mean, it affected the entire constituency in terms of energy.
Energy. But did the chaotic scenes also impact on the voter turnout?
It will, certainly. I mean, that will affect everybody. There are people who don't want to go near violence, whether they are MPP, NDC, and floating voters. Remember, people who vote in the constituency are not just MPP or NDC people. There are other people who vote, floating voters. Now they are about 20% of the voting population. In particular, in Ablekuma North, we have about 30% MPP right now and 29% floating voters and 40% NDC. So there's a sizable number of people who will not go because of the violence.
But because you talk about voter turnout and the impact, it's instructive what we saw yesterday when it comes to the voter turnout. And we're going to put that on the screen. This is the registered eligible voter population in all the 19 polling stations in Ablekuma North that were contested yesterday. Article School Complex, Odoko, had a registered voter population of 645. And Mr. Dankwah, only 206 registered voters came out to vote yesterday. 206 out of the 645. There was a similar situation in the Pentecost Church Mount Zion Assembly. Less than half. DVLA office as well recorded less than half. That's a DVLA office has 613 registered voters. Pentecost Church Mount Zion has 635. Then you have the Lost Pentecostal Church Kwashibu that also recorded under 200. Roman Catholic Church Buzia Junction or Doko 1, 538. We had just about 236 people. The Methodist Church Odoko, that's where our Kumsins incident happened. Methodist Church Odoko, that's the 6th most popular polling station out of the 19 yesterday. 464, and less than half of them came out to vote. I mean, taking this particular one into consideration, and then also how the party took this position going into this election yesterday, did the candidate have a good showing? I mean, this 209 margin of victory for Rabna Oben, without taking anything away from the NDC's victory yesterday, had won victory over the period. Did she have a good showing? That's Nanakia Free, a former member of parliament for this constituency.
I would say no, based on the numbers we have seen. If you exclude the entire results of the constituency and focus on the numbers yesterday, you would notice that the MPP candidate won about 45% of the vote. Maybe some numbers need to be corrected, but NDC candidate won 55% of the vote.
Right.
So there was a 10-point margin on yesterday's count. Now, if you look at the areas the MPP won, they won about 6 places. And their average performance in those 6 areas is about 55%. Now, the highest percentage they score on the day was 62% in one of the polling stations, or no, 60%. But NDC in some areas were scoring 66% on the day.
On average.
Right? So if you average the areas the NDC won, they were averaging nearly 60%. And the areas the NPP won, they were averaging 55%. So Rabna Oben was doing far better on the day in terms of margins than the MPP's candidate. Now, if you look at the overall result, it shows that if the number had come out in number, the same we were expecting, the proportion wouldn't have changed.
Yeah. I see. Rabna Oben would have still won.
Yes. Unless MPP people come out in vast majority than NDC. But we know now that since the election in Ablekuma, since the 2024 elections, the number of MPP voters in that constituency has shrunk to 30%.
30%?
30%. And NDC 40%. And we have 29% floating voters. So if the combined effect of NDC and floating voters would have still delivered NDC the victory.
I see, but this is a stronghold of the NPP. They've won this election since this constituency since 1996. Yeah. The margins are unimaginable. In fact, the NDC, the closest they came until 2024 was about 38%, rounding up to about 39%. That was in 2012.
By Ras Mubarak.
Let's put that on the screen. Yes, Ras Mubarak contested this constituency. This was the first constituency before he went to
Ablekuma West.
And then from Ablekuma West, he went to Kumbungu. So for Ras Mubarak, he has a very interesting history. Look at this. In the year 2000, we start from 2000, but in 1996 they won. 1992 they boycotted. But in 2000, they won with 63% roundup of the total valid vote cast in Ablekuma North. 2004, 65%. There was an increase. And within this period, 2004, 2008, Kwame Nabatels was the member of parliament for this constituency. Very key, strong figure in the NPP. We saw a dip in the performance of the party in 2008, and you can understand why. It was John Ejikun Kufuor was going out of power. It was a new administration. This election went to second round. John Evans Atamels won. Then in 2012, you had a new candidate winning again with an increased margin of 59.7% of the valid vote cast in that election. Fast forward to 2016, that's when Nanakia Free showed up. And look at her performance. Nana Akua-Afrie recorded, in terms of percentage, the highest performance of the MPP in 2016, with over 54,000 of the, in nominal value terms, 54,000 and over of the valid vote cast in Ablekuma North, 66.8%. Then she lost to Sheila Batel's, that's Kwame Batel's daughter, in 2020. But you look at the performance of the party in 2020, it dipped a bit. Right? Then Nana Akua-Afrie made a comeback, strong one, in 2024. So you can understand why she then, regardless of the party's position, decided to test her mettle because of this history and the performance she's had in the constituency over the period. Now the fundamental question is, who takes the blame? Is it the party, or she defying the orders of the party and going? Really? Who bears the culpability?
Well, if you want me to speak to the how you, Mussa?
Mr. Dankwah will answer that, and I'll come to you. This is a question that I want to ask you. Yes, Mr. Dankwah.
Who is to be blamed for the dip of MPP's performance?
And yesterday, the defeat
No,
of the party.
I think it's the party as a whole, not the candidate.
The national executives of the party.
No, in fact, from yesterday, you see, you can't just take yesterday's election as in isolation. It started from 2024 December election.
Yeah.
The punishment that was meted to MPP is the spillover of it that you saw yesterday. And the period between January and yesterday has, in fact, deteriorated for MPP. Because if before the elections in December, you have nearly 20% of MPP voters in Greater Accra switching camp to vote for NDC candidate. That did not put the party in a very strong position. So having had that results inconclusive and having run the country for 6 months and what has happened, it will not make MPP stronger in yesterday's poll. You know, the polling numbers really doesn't support a win for MPP yesterday. And so you can't entirely blame, you can't blame the candidate. A lot of these races that were lost to NDC, they were lost because, look, the economic situation was so dire that people didn't care which candidate NDC was fielding. They had to vote against the MPP.